are fighting a battle. We're singing the same song, trying to find someone who cares as much as we do. We're climbing the ladder while we're sinking in this boat, trying to find someone who cares.
I am joined today by the illustrious AshleyH, and I'm going to leave it to her to say who she is and what she does. Ashley?
Hi, I'm AshleyH. I'm an alicorn. I wear a lot of hats in the fandom. I do song covers. I have an audio drama called Remembrance. I do parody songs, and I voice act usually as Best Book Horse or Twilight Sparkle. And just do a lot of stuff. I dabble.
And one of those things is actually the topic that we're going to be talking about today, isn't it? What is the topic we're talking about today, Ashley?
Why?
Do you know?
I wasn't prepared for you to ask that question.
Well, since you're Best Book Horse, that definitely fits with not being prepared for things. Just means you have to now sing what we're talking about.
Oh no!
No, I won't make you sing. But what are we supposed to be talking about today?
We are talking about audio dramas and directing and writing scripts. Correct? Yes?
Yes.
Maybe? Possibly? Okay, good.
I will say, for the benefit of listeners, I didn't tell her she was the one who was going to be introducing the topic.
I was like, I was totally blindsided. I was like, what?
Yeah, so that's why she sounds maybe a little unsure, because we talked about it beforehand and then just went, right, here you go, here's the ball, run with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are talking about audio dramas that we both of us been in a few. We've run quite a few of our own, and we are friends with people who have run some. So we've seen it from pretty much all sides, onlookers, directly involved, and working for other people. So we thought we'd have a bit of a discussion today and furnish the fandom with our pearls of wisdom about what to do and what not to do. So, you mentioned then, we'll start with you. You mentioned that you run an audio drama called Remembrance. So, when did you start that? What was the process that you went through when you came up with the concept? Because conceptualizing is... I'll get into this later, but I think that's probably where a lot of people who want to do audio dramas do fall down. So, what was your process?
Well, I knew from when I started my YouTube channel that I wanted to do something impactful in the community. I knew that I was doing covers and I was doing like reaction videos, but I wanted something where people could be like, wow, like she did that, that's so cool. You know, like I watched Magpie's stuff and I was like, I want to do something, you know, that people are like, wow, Ashley did that, it's so cool. So I watched the SFM Remembrance by Argo Damien. I don't know how to pronounce that. And Argo Demon. Mm-hmm. And it was just so beautiful, and it made me cry. And it was just a concept that I've never thought of before. And I was like, I could expand upon this. And at first I wanted to make it a fanfic because I didn't know if I had the capacity to do an audio drama. But then people were like, yeah, you should totally do it. So I was like, oh, well, why not? I have no life, why not? So, you know, I just got it together, and I've just been piecing the story together as it goes. Usually, they have a fanfic first before you make an audio drama. Like, Bride of Discord and PTS both had a fanfic before the actual audio drama. And mine, I made it up at like the first and second episode, the whole entire plot. So, it's not something that has been written before, it's just something that's kind of in the process of it, which is new. And I knew I wanted to do something different because PTS and BOD have kind of a lighter tone to it, and I knew that a lot of audio dramas are trying to start off, and if I was gonna make myself stand out, it would have to be something different that people have never seen before. So I was like, what about feels? Because usually feels stick with you. I love Les Miserables because of that feel scene at the end. It sticks with you. So I was like, why don't I make that the central topic of the entire production? Because it's new and no one has seen it before. So, yeah.
So when you say feels, what exactly do you mean?
Like emotions, things that you can relate to. I focus on death and grieving, different kinds of death and grieving. Way that people will deal with it. If they shut themselves off from all emotions, if they go into a depression, if if someone next to them is having a hard time and they want to smile for them and just be their rock and their happy point, and just things that people can relate to and be like, wow, I feel exactly the same way. This is how I feel, and kind of connect to it. So that was my overall goal for it, was to do that.
Sounds kind of cathartic. Well, my experience with audio dramas from a writing point of view is closer to yours than it is to Magpie Pony or Disney Fanatics, in that I've got 3 under my belt at this point, none of which are finished. Heroic Tale of Heroically Heroic Heroes, which was one of the very first things I ever did when I got into fandom back in 2012, 2013. Death of Sunset Shimmer, and No Place Like Home. And all 3 of those weren't based on fanfictions. They were all... When I first started, I called them radio plays, and it sort of evolved into being called the audio drama, because it's not a radio, it's on YouTube. But yeah, I understand what you mean from you have to come up with the story first. It's kind of different for each one of my 3. That Heroic Tale, I went into it knowing it was only going to be 6 episodes long. I mean, at this point there's only been 2 that were ever released, because unfortunately our main actor, Pounce, had a stroke when we were in the production, and I didn't feel right recasting him. So we kind of got on to other things. I do have plans to go back to that. The chat's become quite active recently. But that one was always going to be 6 episodes, whereas something like No Place Like Home and Death of Sunset Shimmer, I was going to say Starlight Glimmer then, it's like, no, that's changed the character.
Seafood dinner.
Oh yeah. When we first reviewed her introductory episode, I couldn't remember her name. I called her Twilight Ponyface for the entire thing. They haven't got the episodes as planned out as Heroic Tale did. And I was wondering how you cope with this idea of, do you know how many episodes you're going to have beforehand? Or is it quite fluid? Would you be willing to add things in, take things out, as canon changes, for example?
Yeah, there's definitely... See, this is something I've been struggling with myself, because originally I wanted to do 10 episodes, and the way my plot is going, that seems okay. Maybe 11, maybe 12. But I do end up adding things, that make the story fuller, character development. I have a problem with pacing. I like to go to the fast stuff, the good stuff. I don't really like filler, and that's where my weak area is. So I'm still trying to have enough character development and filler that, it seems like a full story, and not that I'm rushing to, just like the good parts. But,
so character, not just plot.
Right, yeah. Character development is important, because that's how people stick with your story and why people like you, is how they develop as a character. And a lot of things did change when I first wrote Rem. Starlight Glimmer was not a thing. She was that one evil villain in our town, but that was it. And Flurryheart, McFlurry, wasn't a thing either. I was gonna have Princess Skyla be Cadence's daughter, because that was the fandom name that they created. But in the middle of episode 2 or episode 1, I think it was, Flurryheart came out, and I was like, oh, alright, I mean, if it's canon now, let's just swap it out. So, it was gonna be the same character originally, since Flurryheart is a baby, and she doesn't have any character, so they would have been the same character. I just kind of changed the appearance in a way. Maybe Starlight Glimmer will show up later, I don't know.
Have you just realised you've given away a plot point?
Nah, it's not really a secret, because I had a casting call for it, so.
Yeah, I remember.
You know she's coming somewhere. In there. She's somewhere in there.
Yeah, so you know kind of what your end point is then. That's one of the things that I wish that I knew with all of mine. I know where No Place Like Home is going. I know where it ends. The middle bit is a bit fuzzy, but I know where it ends. Death of Sunset Shimmer, less so. That one was, because they're only like 6-minute episodes, I've no idea where that's going most of the time. It's just whatever happens when I sit down to type. That's not a good position to be in when writing an audio drama. I say that for all listeners. You need to know where you're going,
You need to know.
I've got years and years of experience in this, and I'm struggling because I didn't know where I was going after I'd written the first episode. I had this wonderful setup, and now I'm going, I don't know where this is going anymore. It has no direction. It's going to go off a cliff and burn. That's not a good place to be in, because apart from anything else, it affects your motivation. That if you don't know where your story is going, you are less likely to be able to put everything behind it. And if you don't know where it's going before you start, it's entirely possible that you're not going to finish. I don't know about you, Ashley, but I've been in quite a few different audio dramas that have never seen the light of day, either never got started or never finished. Have you had that kind of experience?
Yes, I have. And that's why I don't really... Now it's a little bit different because I have my own, but before, when I was making REM, I didn't join any audio drama projects because there has been, that rut where people just don't complete them. They have casting calls and they, you message them and and then they don't answer. And when I first started, when I was a little baby YouTuber, I joined a casting call, and I was really excited about the premise. It was about, Philly, Celestia, and Luna, and, how they came to be. And I was like, that's a really cool concept. I like it. I was casted, and I kept messaging the people, and they just wouldn't answer me, and it just never happened. So... That's definitely a thing. If you look on casting calls, there are a lot of projects that don't get completed. I think it's because they don't realize how much work it is. It's a lot of work. It's a crazy amount of work. You go into it and you're like, yeah, I can do it, and then you look at everything in front of you and you go, well, crap, that's a lot. That's not good.
Yep, I think all of us have had that moment of, oh my god, there's so much left to do.
Yeah.
The entire rest of my life is knocking on the door, and I have to sit here editing the box to try and find that one good sigh out of an actor.
Yeah, there's just so many elements that go into it that people don't know about until they actually get started. And I didn't know about it either, at all. And then I was like, oh okay. Now I understand.
So let's furnish them with some information about this then. How much work is actually involved in writing, editing, and directing your very own original audio drama, Ashley?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
And usually people have voice mixers and editors and art directors and all that. 85% of the thing is just me. I do 85% of the directing, script writing, parody writing, finding parodies, audio mixing the songs, writing, doing the lyrics, that's all me. So that's a lot of stuff.
Yep. And if you want to put out good quality content, though, it kind of has to come down to that. That if you're taking on a project like that, you can't really rely on everybody else to do the work for you.
Yeah, and the thing is, you are the director. You are the main person that people are going to turn to. So it's if they have a question or something like that, you're the number one person that needs to answer it. So it's you're also a director, and you have the final say, and every little detail is basically up to you, and it's very stressful, but it's worth it in the end. It's just it's a process.
Yep, I think stressful would be the good word for it, the best word for it. That also a lot of pressure. And sometimes it can be you put the pressure on yourself because you want to put out the best quality product, and also there's everybody else putting pressure on you, and they don't realise they're doing it. I'm not trying to insult anybody, because it's just part of the nature of the beast. That I do have, for No Place Like Home, I have got an art director, Duskspark. He is in charge of all the artists and making sure all the art gets done on time. I give him an idea of what I want for each scene and how many pieces of art need to be done. And he knows the art team well enough to be able to say, okay, this artist will be best for this picture, and this artist will be best for this picture. This person's great at line work, and this person's better at colours, I'll put them together. This person is always late for deadlines, this person is brilliant and always gets things in early. And he knows them that well. I would not know them that well because I'm spread so thin over other stuff. So sometimes delegation can help a lot, but sometimes it does come down to, as a director, you have to have final say over things. Whether it be consistent costume design, or and this is something that I really struggle with, having the courage to say when you don't like something. Because I'm definitely one of those people. I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I don't like confrontation. I'm willing to stand up for people and things if it comes down to it, but I don't like confrontation. I'm not good at it. But that does mean that I kind of just go, yeah, that's brilliant, to everything that I'm shown, even if in the back of my head I'm going, that's not really what I wanted. And you have to sort of build up the courage to say, it's really good, but we kind of need to change a couple of things for it to work. And that's a lot harder. I don't know about anybody else, but I find that really hard to do, is to take somebody's really hard work and do what feels like picking holes in it.
Yeah, and it's definitely hard because you know how much time and effort they put into your project. And it's really hard to be like, well, but it all depends on how you word it. If you're like, oh, that's terrible, like, no, don't do that. But if you're like, oh, that's really, really good, I really love it, is it possible to do this, Because you do want things to fit the scene, but I also want artists to have creative freedom, and I want them to be able to like what they're doing. So I try to find a middle ground between the two things, one that fits the scene, but also that gives that artist creative freedom. And what you were saying before about how the art director, picks the scenes and all that stuff, I do that personally because I make it an effort to have a close relationship to everyone in the cast. That is available. Sometimes time zones, you can't really talk because of time zones. But I really try to make it like a family and understand what's going on in their situations and what's happening in their work ethic, words. And I really try to, get to know them in as personal way as possible. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I just go on tangents.
That's what the Babble Scribbler podcast is for.
Well, that's good.
So, regards to, let's probably, one of the best things we could do is for anybody who's aspiring to do an audio drama or is thinking about maybe starting an audio drama. Let's go back to the beginning of the process. Let's say that they've got their concept, they've got their idea, they kind of know where their story's going, the auditions process. What do you reckon is the best way of handling an auditions process from a director point of view?
What I did, or what you should do?
Bit of both if they're different.
Because I'm known, if some people know me, I'm known for, quote-unquote, stalking people, and this is because when the REM auditions came out, I got some really, really beautiful artists on board and voice actors. But what I did is I YouTubed voice reels of certain characters and just kind of left them a comment or a message and been like, hey, I'm doing this thing, you really good, you should audition, poke, let me slide this link under the door of this casting call if you want to do it. And I did that for the artists too. I went on speed paints and I was like, this is beautiful, if you want to, join, put a link nicely. Don't harass them. Just, slide it under the door. And if they don't answer you, that's completely fine. But, if they do answer you, then that's great too. And that's basically how I got my stuff. And, I don't regret it because the people that, responded are the nicest people I have ever met. And they're so kind and nice. And, they've been in it from day one and they're completely supportive. And, that seemed to work for me. Because the audition process is people are apprehensive to join it because of the amount of dropped audio dramas. And they're like, why is yours any different? Why is yours going to continue? There's always that doubt that, that's going to happen. Yeah. And I think that's why I had to go more personal in the response. Now, I think nowadays it might be a little better. People might be more open to auditioning for an audio drama and seeing as others have come out recently. But when I started it was scarce, to say the least.
I'd actually, this is where I have to admit how long it took No Place Like Home to come out. Next Like Home was, the auditions were held in 2014. And the first episode came out at the end of 2016, because, just life happened in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of straddled that gap of the drop in people wanting to be in audio dramas, because back in 2014 it was that height of fandom at the time where there were so many characters available in it that I got loads and loads and loads of auditions. I think if I had held those auditions 9 months later, not even half of what I got.
Mm.
And the fact that it's come out now when there have been some really successful audio dramas like Princess Trixie Sparkle, like Bride and Daughter of Discord, like Remembrance, like Loving Kindness. And there are other audio dramas. I really, really wish The Trotting Dead would carry on, because that one's one of my favourites. But there are so many that haven't carried on, but there is an increasing number of those who have. And I think you're right in saying that it has assured people a bit more that if they get involved, it will see its way through to a conclusion. There is enough motivation, enough interest for it not to end up in the big pile of, well, that didn't work.
It's a lot of work, and you have to have trust in your castmates and your artists and your voice actors that they will get art in on time, because I've been in stuff where definitely the thing that holds people back is that they don't send in stuff. The people, the cast members, whether it's real life situations or whether it's they don't want to, and that really holds back the whole entire process, because you can't have an audio drama with like 5 scenes missing, you know?
Yep.
And it all depends on how much work you give the artists, how dedicated they are, and I've had artists like that too, you know, that just don't respond, don't answer, and then, you know, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to deal with it. You know, you can't just be like, oh, well, that didn't work. Oh, well, let's just not do it. You know, like, you have to find a way to power through it and figure out how you're going to get this thing out, you know? Yep. And I think episode 4 was definitely like that. Episode 4, because, you know, it was getting close to the holidays. It was after Halloween. There was a long extension date on, you know, turning in art for real life reasons, which is completely fine. You know, life happens. That's great, you know? Mm-hmm. But, you know, I was in the situation where one artist would not message me, not answer me, and I was stuck with the idea of, what am I going to do? Yeah. It was a song. It was the Meant to Be song. I was like, what am I going to do? Because I was actually leaving for Massachusetts in like 4 hours, and I was leaving Massachusetts in 4 hours, and I set out an announcement that it would be out like the day after 4 hours, you know, like that day that I was traveling for 13 hours, and I was like, what the heck am I going to do? Because if I don't have this out on this date, the people are going to freak out and come with me with their pitchforks and fire and, you know, like angry village people. So
absolutely no hyperbole there.
Yeah, I know. And I just used vector art for the song, and it kills me because, not that I don't enjoy vector art, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. But I buckled down, and I actually did that song in like an hour and a half, 2 in the morning. Oh, God. Just so I could get it out, you know? And that's just something that happens, and you have to know how to deal with it. And it's gonna happen. So you just have to know how to handle it, you know, and what to do. So that was a fun time.
I think that what aspiring directors need to bear in mind is you can't be inhuman and neglect people and think like, why haven't you got me my art, rah, and be really nasty about it, especially if it's a volunteer project. Right. But by the same token, you have to be the one to go, right, this clearly isn't working out. I need to take this assignment off you and give it to someone else because it needs to be done by X date.
Right, and it's definitely a balance between, you know, harassing and then, like, where the point where you're like, okay, this isn't gonna work, you know, you need to delegate, you know, to someone else. And it's that line that usually people get in trouble with, you know, whether, you know, harassing, and it's definitely as how much art you give people too, because I've seen some people that give like 5 to 6 scenes an artist, and it's like 8 pictures a scene for one person in like a month, and it's like, that's impossible. Like, no.
Wow.
my thing is I give them the scene. I don't tell them how much to do. I give them the scene, and depending on how much they want to do in their time frame, they can do 3, they can do like 8, they can do 32 if they want. Like whatever. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I don't tell them to do that. I just do whatever they think is necessary to fit that scene. And it's not, if it's like 4, that's completely fine, whatever. But if it's like 30, I mean, that's cool too. I'll use what you have. So it's just that balance that's a problem.
See, I tend to find that but I've found with No Place Like Home, it was I was having problems, especially in the beginning, with voice actors who weren't handing in lines. And I suspect that some of it was to do with they wanted to audition because it was a big project and a lot of people were doing it. And like I said, it was in that height of fandom where there was a lot of stuff going on. So this might have been the first thing they ever did. But it was almost like when they got in, they didn't realise that's when the hard work actually started. So no, right. You've got a scene. You're in this scene. You need to send me lines for this scene. I was talking to Magpie about this the other day, that people who will audition on one microphone and then record their lines on another one. And the one that they actually record their lines on is like, wow, did you actually plug a potato into your laptop?
Right, yeah.
There was, in No Place Like Home, there was one voice actor who, and this was right back at the very beginning, that he'd recorded his audition on a friend's microphone. And it was crystal clear, and his performance was really good. I was so pleased, and we got all the rest of it. And then he sent in his lines for the first scene of the first episode. He said, I'll send you the rest later. And I listened to it and went, what happened? What happened? And I sent him this message back, and he went, oh, well, that was my friend's microphone, and I'm not going to see him again for a while. So I've been sitting in my closet. I think, well, fine. Lost Narrator records in the closet when she needs to. Which is an ironic thing for her to go back into the closet. But, sorry, Lost.
Oh my goodness.
But he'd been recording on an actual video camera. You know those things that have like 3 holes for a microphone? And he'd recorded himself on video, saying his lines, uploaded the video onto his laptop, ripped the sound, and sent me the sound. I was going, what the hell? What made you think that was a good idea?
Oh.
And like
I haven't had that. I can't tell you that has not happened to me yet.
No, that's one of the worst ones. Like I just because on No Place Like Home, Finish Line helps me a lot with cleaning up audio because we have such a range of microphones across the board. It's like, Finish Line, help me! I can't make them all sound like they're in the same room. Well, that's kind of important in a drama.
And you have so many like qualities, and you need to like them all in one scene. You're like, oh my god, why?
Yeah, that's when you have things like there's an echo on some people because they clearly record you in a wider space. Now there's some that it's just crystal clear quality, and then somebody else who sounds like they're recorded in the Batcave. But you have to get around that, and that's one of the things that you have to pay attention to microphone quality on auditions, and that's one thing that anybody who's going to do an audio drama. Don't just cast your friends because they're your friends. If you want it to do well, if you want to make a good one rather than make it do well, nobody can predict what the hell YouTube's doing these days. But if you want to make a good quality one, microphone quality is the first thing you should look for, because you can kind of coach people and guide people through the line delivery if you absolutely have to, but you can't change the mic for them.
And like you can, I just lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness. The mic recording. Yes, okay. So you don't want people to focus on your mic rather than the story or the character. Like you're trying to be a character. Like you can't just look at it and be like, oh, that mic is terrible. Oh. And then it's like you don't see a character. You see the person behind the mic, that has the static or whatever. So that's definitely something that I have took into consideration is mic quality.
Yeah.
Because it bugs me when everyone is crystal clear and then there's that one person that has a different mic and then it just kind of ruins the scene because you're into it and everything is great and you're like, wow, it's really dramatic, and then you're just like, I hear them recording. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I just heard them knock the microphone, or I've heard someone in the background. That person who recorded with the TV on in another room, and you can so very much hear it.
Yeah, like you kind of kind of killed the vibe there. But yeah. So it's very
meant to be immersive. So yeah.
Yeah, you want to be in the universe and want to be the character. And you don't want to look at the person behind the screen. You don't want to look at Scribbler. You want to look at Twilight Sparkle, you know? So...
Nobody wants to see the man behind the curtain. They just want to see the Wizard of Oz. Exactly. Get that, Ashley, we're wizards. Right, so, yeah, auditions process, pay attention to people, and this is one that I've had to learn, and it might be the same for other people, because it's a hard lesson. You can't give a role to everyone you feel sorry for. Yeah, this is something that I did quite a lot in the early days, where there were people who were giving really good performances, but there were other people who were giving even better performances, and I felt really sorry for the people who'd given the good performance, that they weren't going to get the role because it was going to the brilliant person. So I would kind of create roles for them, and they ended up having, like, too many people around, and it makes it very... The way you said that you've got with the Remembrance cast, that it feels like a family. It's really hard to do that when you've got 92 people just in the voice acting category, and then artists and things on top of that.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's no place like home. Crazy. We have over 100 people working or have worked on this project. It is crazy, you know. It's like, no, don't do that. If anybody's starting out, don't do that. It's a bad way of doing it. Because you can't connect personally with 92 people. Especially when the reason that some people are in there is because you just wanted to give them a chance, which is a commendable thing to want to do. Like, past self me, I'm quite happy with the fact that she wanted to help people, but by the same token, you stupid bitch, now I've got to deal with it.
What I usually do is that once an episode or twice an episode, I don't know, I'll put like a random line, like a guard pony or a helper pony or something like that, and have people voice them, but I don't give them the full script. I only give them that one little tiny scene with like 5 lines in it, so no one knows like secrets, and they're not in the group chat. It's just kind of like a cameo. So it's like I do have to manage the lines and stuff, but it's not as taxing as it would be if they were in the cast. So that's how I do it.
Yeah.
And it seems to be okay. I don't know.
See, we have a group in a place like home called the Wallers, who are people who don't have an assigned role. Because we had a lot of understudies. Because I remember from Heroic Tale that we had people drop out and I had to pull in understudies. It was like, I wish I'd got these people in the first place. For No Place Like Home, one of the reasons it's such a huge number was because there were a lot of understudies for all the roles. But some of the understudies, that was literally their only thing, was to be an understudy to a main character, and then they didn't have a character of their own. So we had what we called the Waller group, Waller just meaning background voice in radio plays. And they would be attached to things like Waller 1, Waller 2, Waller 3, Waller 4 in each script, and they would be assigned parts of crowd scenes and things. Like, if I probably should have done it the way that you did, with pulling in people from sort of independently as you go along, but we have this core number of Wallers who can do a good range of voices, who get used for the background characters and for the oddball characters and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool in a way because you'll never have to, like, search out people because they're just, you know, and they have such a range of, like, voices that they can do, like, a whole bunch of stuff, which is really, that's really helpful, you know, if you need, like, a background or, you know, like a plot something or a pony coming in, like, that's really cool. You don't have to search people out, which I usually have to do. So
it's definitely interesting sometimes. Sometimes what the Wallers come up with is so entertaining, I kind of wish it was part of the script, because when we have crowd scenes, I just give them a basic idea of, right, this is your character, this is what they're talking about, this is how many minutes you've got to fill. Just monologue and make it up as you go, and I'll pick out the best bits. And some of the stuff they come up with is just hilarious. Like, in MPLH episode 1, there's a scene at the market where Lyra, Noteworthy, and Applejack, who are 3 of the main characters, are having a conversation. It's quite a long conversation. And I said to the Wallers, right, it's about 5 minutes, this scene. If you want, you can fill a minute, and then I will just loop it. Gina M didn't do that. Gina M is amazing. She did 5 minutes of monologuing about trying to sell chocolate. Oh my God. And the best thing, her character was allergic to chocolate. She decided halfway through this chocolate seller was allergic. It's like going, I wish that this was just, I could put this on and that was it. Like, this is better than anything I've written. I love that kind of spontaneity with these kinds of projects. And that's one of the reasons that I love doing them, is that people can be so creative if you give them the chance to be.
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point of this, is to have their creative freedom and experiment and do different things and give them experience. And that's basically what this whole idea is about, the whole audio drama. Because, I mean, it's not like a company. Like, it's just a whole bunch of people that get together and want to, show their talents and expand upon them.
Yeah, especially since we're all doing this because we're fans. One would hope, although it's getting increasingly, maybe not in fandom at the moment, but one would hope that everybody does this for the love of it.
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do it for.
Exactly. We are supposed to do this because we fell in love with either the show or the fandom or something. Not because we want to be famous on YouTube.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you start off being a YouTuber, you usually have that mindset. If you're usually like, I want a lot of subs and I want to be famous. But it's the experiences and the friends you make and everything that just makes you forget it and don't even care about it. Because I remember when I first, like 2 years ago, joined the fandom, I was like, I'd be really cool, to be famous. And throughout my experiences, I'm like, it doesn't matter. As long as people love the content that I'm giving out and can connect with it, and, I make a lot of friends, like, that's all that matters. Because we're all the same people. We're just people that like the show and come together and do projects together, Like, no one's better than anyone else. It's just all the same. Yeah. And you learn that. It's a maturity thing. You learn it through experience, so.
And everybody learns eventually that there's only one Isla Monte. There's only one Nowacking. There's only one Magpie Pony. There's only one Lost Narrator. You can't be those people.
You gotta have your own identity.
I'll admit, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And for all the, I'll agree with you. You said, when you first get into it, you kind of think, I would love to be famous. I would love for all these things. But if that is still your motivating factor when you are in the midst of making a project, then you're not doing the project right. You can't be somebody else.
No.
Nobody can go into it thinking, I am going to I'm going to Tex-Mex this. No, I am going to make the next Princess Trixie Sparkle. I am going to make the next Bride of Discord. You can't.
You can't go into
those things. Yeah, they've been done. And they were done extremely well. That's why people like them.
Right.
But nobody knew they were going to like them before they were made.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you want something that's going to make an impact on this community, you have to do something that no one has thought of. That no one has done. So that they'll be like, oh, that's cool. I've never seen that before, Like, PTS and BOD. BOD is, a Disney retelling. No one has done that before.
Yeah.
PTS is more original script based, but is more fluffy and light, except for the later episodes. But most of it is fluffy and light.
If I'm right in recalling, wasn't that the first one that did musical songs in it as well?
I don't remember.
Because I started watching PTS after I'd been watching Bride of Discord, and I do recall that it was when the first song popped up in Bride of Discord, and Disney Fanatic said that she wanted to be like Magpie Pony, and I thought, oh, does that mean there are songs in that one too?
I mean, maybe.
So I think it might have been the first one, because it seems pretty standard now for people to want songs. I got messages from people saying, why were there no songs in No Place Like Home? Dark.
Yeah.
You don't I am so depressed today.
Everything is terrible.
Exactly. I am stuck in an alternate world where everybody I know is dead.
Please make that a song.
Yeah.
Buy it on iTunes today, I'd buy it.
Lyra's Lament. I want to go home. Yeah. Bonbon's a cyborg, and I'm not sure what's going on with Twilight, but she keeps looking at me funny. Spoilers.
But I love...
And then she died.
Yeah. I love the idea of, musicals, in it. And that's not something new. I mean, that's been done before. But it's how you do it that's differently.
Yeah, speaking of musicals, now, this is not something I have a great degree of familiarity with. The fact that we've just joked all about it. I don't do musical episodes.
You should.
The very first song parody I ever did, like, came out today, and I was heavily reliant on someone else doing the singing. Cough, hashtag Ilya Leonov is amazing. But, Reverb Brony, he's my boyfriend, but he is in charge of music and things on No Place Like Home. And because he's a musician, he knows all these things, and he was sort of talking me through what was involved in doing the song parody, and it was so complicated. I go, wow, this is why I've never done one before. I am totally aware now of why this is your thing, and not mine.
Yeah.
So how do you cope with songs? Because you have your own original songs as well, don't you? You don't just do covers.
No, they're parodies. I don't do original songs. I want to.
They must be very, very well done, because I've never been able to identify where your songs have come from.
Oh, well, that's good. No, they're parodies. I wish they were original. But, yeah, that's something in the future that I really want to try, is definitely doing an original song. Like, specifically for Rem. But yeah, I do parodies. And usually the process, it could go from, like, 5 minutes to, like, a couple days, because, like, I will, sometimes I'll write a script, and I'll write the plot, because I know the plot that's gonna happen, and I'll be like, this song is gorgeous, and must be in it, like, this is going to be in Rem, but sometimes I'll be like, I don't know what the flying pig is gonna go here, so, like, episode 4, with the Luna Nightmare thing, Come Little Children, and then the Les Mis thing, I had no idea what I was gonna put there. I told Sketch the Pegasus, who did the artwork for it, I was like, I still have to make the parody. I don't know what it is. And I searched for, like, 4 days. I looked at, like, every Disney soundtrack, every Broadway musical soundtrack, every royalty-free instrumental piece I could find. I like, went on a binge for searching, and I could find nothing. Because I knew I wanted it to be, like, Jekyll and Hyde, but not like Jekyll and Hyde. Like, different. And then one day I was just eating food. I think it was Chick-fil-A. I don't know. And I was like, wait a minute. Why don't I use a Les Mis song? Because that's, like, perfect. It's a confrontation, but not really. It's what I'm looking for. So, I quickly mashed the two together, and I was like, well, okay, sure. And sometimes I know what it is going in, but most of the time I have to do, like, a heavy load of searching to find the perfect one for that scene.
Yeah.
And it's a task.
This is thankfully a task I don't have to do.
You're so lucky.
I don't envy you, I'll admit that. I do not envy you with the songs.
So lucky.
I'm more than happy to let you and DF and Mag have that. Less stress for me.
I mean,
I do admire you, that's why, because I can't do it.
Yeah, once you find the perfect song, you're like, yes, this is nice, this is good. And then when you write it, writing comes easier to me than, like, picking it. And then I make the demo, and then everything's done. But it's still a process if you can't find what you're looking for. So that's why with episode 3 with you, that's not a parody. That's just the song with you from Ghost the Musical. I just listened to it, and I was like, this is perfect. I don't need to change anything, except for one line when they said, like, Mr. Reynolds, and I was like, okay, I'll change that line to our daughter. Our daughter walks in to say hello instead of Mr. Reynolds walks in to say hello. And that's it. Everything else is exactly the same as Ghost the Musical. It's more of a cover.
I did not know that.
It's more of a cover, but I just thought it was perfect for the scene that I didn't need to change it. It was just great. So, just popped that in. There you go. So, yeah.
Well, colour me impressed.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, time frames. What time frames do you work in as far as, like, have you written multiple scripts in advance, or do you, like, finish a script, check it, and then give it to the cast straight away? And what sort of time frame do you give them to record things?
Usually, well, this episode I've been doing something different than usual. I'm trying to get ahead of it because I miss last minute all the time. So, but I'm trying to get out of that. But usually, while the episode is going on, I will write the next episode. So, like, while episode 3 is happening, I wrote episode 4. And
yeah,
I actually wrote episode 4, 5, and 6 already because I know what's going to happen. It was just kind of like a setting of events kind of thing. and kind of taking out my ideas and putting it there. But that was the first time I've been 2 episodes in advance. Usually that does not happen. And then I give them to Silver Swirls to edit because I'm a terrible grammar person, so she edits that, and then I hand them out. What I usually do is that I don't give... The cast knows nothing about the story at all. Like, they are in the dark. Only Silver and Brony Cooper, my art director, know about the plot, so I can bump ideas off of, because I need, like, some sort of feedback of, wow, Ashley, that's terrible, don't do that. I like to keep a sense of secrecy with my cast, so they don't know what's going on until they get the script, and then they go, oh my goodness. So that's something that I do.
So I'm kind of the same in that Heroic Tale was the complete opposite, that we used to have rehearsals where we would get together and just practice together, and it fast became a way just for us to mess about and have fun and get to know each other. But during one of those calls with most of the cast, I did tell them the entire 6 episodes plot. Whereas with, like, Death of Sunset Shimmer is a lore into itself, because I don't actually know myself where that's kind of going. But No Place Like Home, I've only shared that with a couple of people, that there's a backstory. When people join the crew, they are presented with what's called the Home Hub links. And it's all the different links to, like, lists of moderators for chats, so you know who to go to if you've got a problem. Mm-hmm. The scripts, we have a feedback sheet for performance that either I or Finish Line will listen to people's performances, and if they have to redo lines, we identify which lines they are and why. We compliment performances, because you can't just criticize people. And we also do things like talk about mic quality, like next time you might want to think about moving your mic further away from your fan, or things like that. And there is also in that a document called The Play's Premise and Backstory Required Reading. And it's about the only thing that I insist on with people. It's like, you can check the rest of it whenever the hell you want, but that one you kind of need to read right away. Mm-hmm. Because it explains the premise of the world. Because the entire point of No Place Like Home is that Lyra's in a different universe. And it would be impossible for anybody to work on the play to know about the costumes, or to understand who the hell their character is, or where they fit into things, if they don't understand just the basic premise of what is this world. Right. But they don't know the plot of what's actually going to happen. Mm-hmm. But they do know the premise in quite a lot of detail.
Yeah.
The only people who do know the plot at this point is Reva, Brony, Lost Narrator, because I told her way back in the very beginning. Magpipe only knows a few bits and pieces, because when she got Pinky, I had to talk her through some quite important stuff about her. Mm-hmm. And Finish Line. Oh, and Gumbasta. And they know because they helped me with sorting out scripts and docs. So very few people actually know where this is going. The only person who has a full comprehensive view is Reva Brony. And sometimes I think he dates me just so he can find out plot points.
Oh my goodness.
Love you, boo!
That's not the case. Yeah, I prefer it where people don't know the plot, because it totally X's out that thing of spoilers and leaks and stuff like that, and telling your friends the plot of what's going to happen, because they don't know the plot, and that makes me feel happy, because Rem is very secret based. It's very what's going to happen, what's going on.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, it's very Gravity Falls in the sense. I've tried to make it like Gravity Falls-esque, where...
See, I've never watched Gravity Falls, so I'm not entirely... Oh. You have to walk me through what you mean by that.
It's amazing. It's, okay, so basically in Gravity Falls, the whole entire series was about who wrote the journals. Who wrote these big journals that have all these magical creatures inside, and all these things about magical creatures that Dipper finds in the woods. And that's basically, like, the big mystery. And
yeah,
they have little things at the end of every episode that are in code, and you decipher the code, and it has, you know, like a thing for the next episode, or a secret or something, and it's always at the end of the episode. So it's very, very secret-based. And that's how I kind of wanted Rem to be, because there's no fanfic. There's nothing that you can read ahead and spoil yourself on. And I wanted to use that to my advantage, because I don't think that has happened before. I think PTS had a fanfic, and VOD had a fanfic, and DOD had a fanfic, but mine did not. So I'm trying to keep that element of surprise, so no one figures out what's going on, what's happening, my plot, my whatever. Like, it's very secretive, and I think that plays to my advantage. And I like the cast because I tease them about it all the time. It's great. Like, they're like, oh yeah, I think this is gonna happen, and I'm like, or is it? Or, and they're like, this plot character is not gonna die, and I'm like, or is she? And they're like, no! And they hate me for it, but it's kind of fun, because they don't know anything. But,
by the way, you die this episode. What?
Yeah, oh, Braitsy Dubs, everybody dies, the end. Roll the credits, that's it.
Rocks fall, everybody dies.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, people. Streaming the cast is fun. Apparently. Never gonna do that to you. Please don't leave me.
They love me. Come on.
I will ask Silver about this. Right.
She knows the plot, though, so...
Yeah. I was gonna ask about whether or not you screw with your cast and tell them
Oh, no, totally. Please do. Because it's a yes. It's a big time, yes.
So we've been through, like, the auditions process, about speaking to people about performances, about time frames for getting lines in. What about editing? How do you handle that? If you're sole director, sole writer, you're already spread quite thin. Do you do all the editing yourself as well?
I do. I do all the editing, the sound mixing, the sound effects, the background music, the line editing. That's all me.
So when we said at the very beginning, people, that it's a very, very, very stressful and very high-pressure thing to do one of these, this is what we mean!
And it's just, like... It's so tedious. It's not hard for me, but it's just so tedious because you have, like, I have, like, 30-minute episodes. I can't even imagine a 40-minute episode or, like, an hour episode or what you do. I can't do that. But
second episode of Heroic Tale was, like, over 2 hours long.
No, I would die. But a 30-minute episode has, like, 18 to 20 scenes in it, I think. And every scene you have to audio mix. So that's doing the same entire thing for 20 scenes. Plus, never mind the song mixing. That's a completely different animal. But,
yeah.
But it's hard. It's something that I can't really describe unless you do it. It's just, you have to make your characters sound like they're having a coherent conversation, which is what you do.
There's irony for a word to miss.
Coherent conversation! Words! I can't speak! Yeah, let Ashley do this. She's so great at making a coherent conversation.
You sound like one of the spa
ponies.
Anyway.
So, yeah, just trying to make them sound like human or pony and talking like, like they're all in the room together. And then you have to go and find non-copyrighted music that fits the scene. You have to put that together. You have to find sound effects. And I know this is your domain. It's what you do, Scribbler. But, it's really hard. I just never thought that this would be so difficult. And I tell people when they're doing audio dramas, I'm like, make sure you have a really good audio editor, because it's a pain. And I have GarageBand, it works out pretty well.
I use Audacity.
Audacity.
But, because I do, like, thick readings and stuff every week, I had to admit defeat. And one of the reasons that the first episode of MPLH took so long to come out was because I was being stubborn and deciding that I was going to do all the editing myself, just like I'd done on Heroic Tale, just like I did with thick reading and everything else. And I couldn't handle the workload, because at that point I was still working full-time as well. And I couldn't do it. I was working 75-hour weeks and then trying to edit an audio drama and a weekly thick reading. It's like, haha, this is so not going to happen.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. So, you have to sometimes face your own weaknesses to a degree and admit if you need to delegate. Like you said, you've got Brony Cooper helping with the art. I've got Boombasa helping me with the Vox. But I still do all the Foley. And if there's any complicated scenes, like the dream sequence in episode 1, that one was all me.
Yeah.
But just plain Vox, I will get all the files in. Finish Line and I will quality check them and ask for retakes if we need to. Finish Line cleans the audio, and then Goombasa takes the script and just does straight Vox. There's no audio effects, there's no Foley, there's nothing. All that comes from me, and I do that in Audacity.
Yeah.
And then I use Vegas 12 to do the video editing. Mm-hmm. For MLP, because it's such a big project, and like you said, the episodes are so long, mm-hmm. the only way that it won't take another 2 years for one to come out is because I've had to bite my own tongue and delegate, and to be honest, they're all really, really good at their tasks. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially considering they're balancing their own channels on top of this. But I don't think I could do that with this particular project, I couldn't run everything myself.
Yeah, especially since your episodes are so dang long. Like, I could not do...
Admittedly, the next episodes are like 40 to 45 minutes each.
That's not...
The first episode was a big one.
That's not bad. 40 to 45. It's still a lot, don't get me wrong. But it's better than an hour or whatever the final thing was.
The script for episode 1 was, if I recall correctly, close to 80 pages long.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the script for episode 3, and I do remember episode 3 because it's the one that's set with all the Pegasi, and I loved that one because I absolutely just adored writing Motash's dialogue. The script for that one was 53 pages long, so there was a bit of a difference between Ep 1 and the following episodes. And episode 4 was actually the shortest because it was 48 pages long. Because 48 pages is quite short. What's the sort of average size of a REM script?
I don't know at the top of my head.
I've asked her a question she can't answer, folks.
I know. Okay, let me look it up. Let's see. Episode 4. Why can't I find it now? See, I am the worst organization person ever.
See, I'm queen of charts because I'm bad at organization unless I have charts everywhere. Like, people who interact with me on a fairly regular basis know how many charts I have. I have charts keeping track of my charts.
Yeah.
And reminders on my phone to check my charts and update them all.
Oh, okay. Well, my, it's not 40 pages. It's, episode 4 was 17 pages with 2 songs in it. And the 2 songs were like 4 minutes each. So that...
See, the songs, songs will definitely,
elongate,
increase your runtime a lot.
That's usually what I do, is I usually put in 2 songs. Because I don't want them to be too long, and I am... If I do a long one, I'm going to take a lot more prep time than I usually do. Because I usually take 2 months.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah.
Still kind of cutting it close, but I still do it. So it's if I ever do a long one, like an hour, I'll make sure to do a really, really long prep time for that, because 2 months.
I'll be ready with the coffee and the tissue for when you're crying, going, I can't do it, it's horrible.
I'll message you.
Why did you make me make an hour-long one?
I'll message you and be like, Scribbler, everything is terrible, I'm dying. Probably gonna happen in the future, just so you know.
No, you'll be fine. Considering how popular Rem is, you will be fine.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe. I go insane after editing every episode, so who knows?
I mean, have you been surprised about how popular it's gotten?
Yeah, I was just expecting, like, people, my subs, I don't know how much I had when I started Rem. I think it was at, like, 7K, maybe? I just wanted my subs to enjoy it, and I wanted to do something that would be impactful for them, and just do something different, and it just blew up, and I don't even know how or why. Mm-hmm. And, like, someone messaged me, like, a week ago, and they were like, it's at 2 million views, and I'm like, excuse me? That's insane. It's not even that good for 2 minutes. It's the first episode. I didn't know what the heck I was doing at that point, and I'm like, why? It's at 2 million views. And it's just mind-blowing. I don't understand. I don't get it. But I'm happy.
Because if you knew the secret, I would in fact have to pay you to know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy that people like it. I just don't.
Oh, yeah.
It's just crazy. Because I've seen a lot of audio dramas come out that are really good. And they have a smaller fan base. And they're really, really good. And I thought that's what I was, that's what I was aiming for. Maybe like 3K. Maybe like 3K a video. I wasn't expecting much. But, yeah, I don't I don't even know. I think it's because it's something different.
I mean, I have my own theories about why it's done as well as it has.
Yeah.
I think part of it is to do with it was the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds like a real cop-out, but there are swings and roundabouts and dips and peaks in what is interesting to a fandom at any given time. Because if you sort of think about when Rem starts to really take off, the first episode, I think, if memory serves, because I don't think I was in the country at that point, if memory serves, with episode 1, it was a bit of a slow burn to begin with, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It just slowly, I think it stayed at like 5K or 6K, and I was happy with that, honestly. I was like, alright, sounds good. But, yeah, and then maybe like a month or two later, it just blew up. And it just kept getting like views and views, and I was like, I don't understand, but okay.
See, the pony at that point, it was still on TV, which is one thing.
Yeah.
That there was that sort of fandom interest in Pony was increased because as the series progressed, we had things like the Starlight Glimmer episodes that really got people interested. They had the Discord episodes, and then they had that finale. There was this resurgence of interest in the fandom, which brought a lot of people to YouTube. And especially after the series had finished, I say series because I'm from the UK and we call each individual season a series. Because the season had just finished, people were sort of hungry for more content and more stories involving these characters they liked.
Right.
And lo and behold, here was this audio drama that had near-perfect character voices and lots of art and a story they couldn't tell where it was going, but had this blend of... It's quite a dark premise when you think about it.
It is dark.
I mean, you probably have thought about it, it's your story, but it is quite a dark premise to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is what people wanted after that finale.
Yeah.
So they flocked to it, and it was like the YouTube algorithm, as was at the time, was like the more popular it was, the more popular it became, because the more it was being recommended. Mm. And I think that also episode 3, it sounds really daft, but that thumbnail, that cadence staring quite forcefully at the camera and then the armor in the background, it's a very intriguing, very clicky thumbnail. Not clickbait, because it's not clickbait, but it is clickable.
It's just something that you'd be like, oh, what's this? You know, and with
exactly.
PTS, I think it was 7? PTS 7 with like the shadow, it was like a picture of like the shadow and then the main 6 were like looking at it. And this is before Rem, like way before Rem.
Yep.
Like, that really intrigued me, and that's something that I do also, is that I pick, like, the artwork that I'd be like, I would watch that. Like, that looks interesting. I'd watch that. And I think that the Nightmare thumbnail from episode 1, I think that helped also, because they're like, what the heck is that? Like, just the Nightmare main 6.
Or the Luna and Nightmare Moon one from episode 4. Mm-hmm. That's a very clicky thumbnail as well. Yes. It sounds... I hate this word clicky, but I can't think of a better one, because clicky sounds too much like clickbait, which is really negative, and I don't mean it in a negative way.
No, I understand. I understand.
It's really intriguing thumbnails.
It's like, oh, I want to find out more about that. It's like, oh, that looks really interesting. What is that? You know, it piques your curiosity, and that's kind of what I'm going for, you know? And I specifically choose, like, the artwork for the thumbnail, because I'm like, yeah, I'd click that. I'd see what's going on there. So,
But that does sort of lead us back to that thing of, this is why when people are going in to do audio dramas, you can't reinvent the wheel and try and be one that already exists.
Exactly.
Because people aren't going to be as interested if it's not something new. And I think, again, this is just my personal theory, I think one of the reasons that Remembrance did, and is still doing as well as it is because it's filled the niche that was necessary and ready for it at the time. It was this case of perfect timing. That the kind of story that you're telling and the way that you're telling it was exactly what people wanted. But people can't guarantee that's going to happen when they start their own, so they can't try and be the next Rem because it won't work.
Yeah, I do agree with that. You know, it's hard. It's hard if you want to start one because you have to stand out. You have to be different. And it's like, how do you be different? How do you be completely different from, you know, the things that have been PTS and DOD. And something that I also really wanted was I didn't want to be a copy of PTS and DOD. I didn't want people coming to me and be like, wow, you're such a sellout. You trying to be these people? No, you can't be. Like, stop trying to be them. And I want to be my own person. I didn't want to be, like, you know, the new PTS or DOD. You know, I wanted to do something different where they go, wow, you know, like, that's new and different. I've never seen that before. You know, and not to be known as that, but to have my own identity. And then, you know, and then when new people start, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to be REM, I don't want to be DT, DOD, I don't want to be PTS, I want to be something else.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I think that's a good way of putting it, that you have to have your own identity and be separate from those. There is this sort of compulsion from, especially people who are not very experienced in it, to want to copy the thing that is popular and to copy the thing that they know did well.
Yes.
Which is like in the early days of fandom where we had like 1,000,001 Cupcakes rip-offs and 1,001 Rainbow Factory parodies.
Yes, yes.
But when it comes to an audio drama, because it's such a lot of work, if you start from that place, you're either going to burn out really quickly or you're going to be really disappointed that people aren't as interested in what you've got. Right.
And it also goes down for your love for the project. If you're just trying to be another project or something like something that's already been seen before, like, you're not gonna love it as much. You wanna create something new. You want it to be your child, to hold it close. You know, like, you want to create new characters if that's what you want to do. You know, new characters that people identify with. You want to do something that you're proud of, and that, you know, it's just the love for the project, because I've seen a few where the love for the project isn't there, and you can tell, you know, through writing, through storytelling. It's just something when you watch it, they just don't have that spark of, you know, like, love and caring and actually nurturing your project, you know, to make it something that you're proud of, you know. And I think that's also what you need to do, is have those things.
On the note of creation, Galaxy Star. She's
Galaxy.
Of all of the sort of like the big three of PTS, BOD, and now Remembrance, she is the one that really sort of stands out, as there is no equivalent of her in other projects. They all very much stick to canon characters, whereas Galaxy is a completely new own creation.
Yeah.
So how did she come about?
She's her unique own snowflake. Okay, well, I knew through episode 1, even when I didn't know where the story was going, that I wanted to give Twilight a pupil. And this was before Starlight became her pupil. This was before all that. So when people in the comments are like, why isn't Starlight her pupil? Because it didn't happen yet, okay? So I wanted to give her own identity. And I was worried because a lot of people hate original characters, new original characters in a story. Like, they're very apprehensive. Same thing with alicorns. They're very apprehensive. You know, it's like you have to give them a good character. You have to give them good development and make people have to identify and like them. And that was really a struggle for me, because I was like, please like my precious cinnamon bun. And in the first episode, she was kind of like a side thing, and then during episode 2, I decided to give her more of an arc, more of a development. And when I made Galaxy, I made her a reflection of myself, because at the time I made her, I was in college, and it was a terrible time. I won't spare you the details, but it wasn't good. You know, there was a lot of hateful stuff, and, you know, I was just really sad and depressed in that moment, and I needed something to identify with and something to let out, you know, what was happening. And I think Galaxy was definitely, you know, I made her as me in that time. You know, like, she has doubts. She doesn't think she's good enough for the goal that she has. She wants to help and be useful, but she doesn't know how. You know, kind of in her own identity crisis, which is what I am in right now. So it's very easy to write. It's not something that's not even me. Like, it's like, oh, she's never me. I don't, you know, do anything of that. It's basically a more somber and a way of me. Like, she's positive. She tries to stay on the positive side, but she has doubts. She has, you know, people discriminate her, tell her she's not good enough for what she's doing. And, you know, that's the things that I faced in college, you know, when people said that. And it felt good to project onto something. And I think that's why people like Galaxy so much, is that people, they have this identity crisis and they have this doubt and everything like that. And it's just something where they can be like, wow, she understands me. I know what she's going through. And I think that's why people like her so much, which is good. It's good that people like her. So.
And that's when I asked, you mentioned that people aren't really fond of OCs, that there's that moniker that goes with it, Mary Sue. So how did you avoid making Galaxy Star and Mary Sue? Especially since, if I'm correct, there's a little bit of shipping with a canon character going on as well.
Yeah. Well, some people would call me a Mary Sue because I'm an alicorn, but you know what? Whatever. So I knew...
I think it's been proven in canon now that alicorns are possible. If this was season 1 or season 2, maybe, but no, we're post season 3 now.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. So See, it was really hard trying to make her a likable character, because I had to give her, like, relatability and that kind of thing. And it's definitely hard to make an original character, but you have to make them not something you're writing, but just a character. Like, every action and every thought, every dialogue, it means something. This is what they would do. This is who they are. It's their embodiment. Like, it's not just because I wrote it, because I thought it'd be cool. Like, it's who they are, and you have to think in their mindset what they would say, what their action would be, what would happen. And I think, in character development, giving them, maybe not too sad of a backstory, but, not anything too fluffy and light either, struggles that everyone goes through. It's not like, oh, everyone I know is dead and, I hate everything. Like, realistic, like, people go through, like, same thing with McFlurry. I basically made McFlurry's character because she didn't have a character. And, I made her more of a victim of maybe a verbal abusive parent. Someone that she can relate to, something that, she tries to reach out and help her, but, she doesn't know if that's right for her. And, same thing with Galaxy. It's just important to give them relatability and give them a real life scenario, on how they can be relatable. And with the flurry thing, it started off as a joke, the Alone in the Universe. I wrote it, and I was like, yeah, okay, let me just write this for fun because I was bored. And I wrote Galaxy's part, and that really spoke to me on, my experiences, on what I felt like at that moment. And the more I was writing it, I was like, this is a ship song. This is hardcore ship song. And towards the end, I was like, I like it. I'm gonna put it in. So I mentioned it to artist Hididi, who did the animation for Alone in the Universe, and I was like, would you hate me if I added a song? And she was like, no, I wouldn't hate you. And she's like, I can animate it too. And I'm like, okay. And then that's how Galheart came to be. Because I was like, it's cute.
Oh, bless.
So,
I'm fairly certain that's how most shipping starts.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's cute. I hope they will be together forever.
Yeah, I ship it, OTP. But yeah, that's how it happened. It wasn't a meant to be thing. I didn't write it in while I was writing the script. It was definitely a post idea.
I think possibly it's better for that reason, that if somebody has written in a character specifically to be the other half of a relationship with a canon character, yeah, that's not good writing.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've been talking for over an hour.
Oh my goodness.
So, we may have to draw to a close in a second. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, like, we start talking about these kinds of things, it's like we just go. Okay, so if we're drawing to a close in a second, if you had to boil it down to 5 pieces of advice you would give someone based on your own experiences about if they're thinking of doing an audio drama, what 5 pieces of advice would you give them?
Oh man, okay. Make sure you connect with your cast. Don't treat them as, like work people, like treat them as people. See, you put me on the spot here.
Well, I'm going to add one then, dedication.
Dedication.
If you are the one who's in charge and you're the writer / director / everything else, you need to be aware in the very start that it is going to take up a huge chunk of your life.
Yes, dedication.
And you chose that, so you can't say no when you've chosen.
Right, dedication and time management, definitely, because you have deadlines and you have to meet those deadlines.
Yeah, you can't expect everybody else to meet deadlines if you can't do it yourself.
Yeah. Character development is very important. Don't just write it because it's what you want. Like, you have to do it as the character. You have to see in the character's eyes and what they would do in that moment, in that specific thing and how they would react to it.
Yeah, be realistic, not just because the plot says so.
Right, not just because I say so. It's like there has to be reason. You have to explain yourself. Yeah. 5, know where you're going.
Yes, I agree with that. No, what's your end goal?
Know where you're going. Don't just write it and be like, well, I don't know what to do now. Like, actually...
Yeah, because that's how you end up writing yourself into a corner.
Right, and that's actually what happened to me with episode 2, but...
Oh, no.
Yeah, but you know what? I figured it out. It's all good. I figured out what's going on, so we're fine.
The fact that episode 4 came out, I assume that you'd written yourself out of the corner. But...
Yeah, episode 3 I wrote myself out of the corner. It's just kind of... There was a standstill. But definitely know where you're going.
Yeah.
Or else your project will suffer, because you won't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay then, so this has been Babble Scribbler talking about audio dramas with AshleyH.
Yeah.
You want to say goodbye, Ashley?
Bye!
Bye everybody, be lovely to each other and we'll see you next time.
Bye!
I am literally waving at my screen, I am such a twerp.
I also waved at my screen. I was like, bye! Oh my goodness.
Righty-tight.
That was fun.